Good morning, everybody. Brenda Hillard here. I am here with another episode of Create with Brenda. I am Brenda Hillard, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I have a really fun project to share with you. We will be creating a card using the Celebrate Sunflowers and the sunflower dies. The layout for the card is from the August 2020 meeting planner by creating success. Wow, that was a mouthful. I need more coffee. By creating success with Rhonda Wade. So I did modify it a little bit, added some different matting paper, added some extra embellishment, but the layout itself is really fun, and I'm excited to share it with you, and I hope you enjoy it. So here we go. Now that we're down to my work surface, I just want to share with you that as an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, every month I run a host code, which for the month of August is right here. With a host code is what I do is each month the host code changes and my host gift to you changes. This month I am offering with a minimum $75 product order, you will receive from me at the end of the month the Christmas Means More stamp set, and that's from the new August through December 2020 mini, which if you don't have a copy of that catalog and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd be happy to share one with you. You just have to contact me or comment below, and I would be happy to get one out to you. So let's get started with our project for today. All right, here's what we're going to be doing. It's thanks a bunch, and like I said, it's using the Celebrate Sunflowers and the sunflower dies. The only die that we're going to be using out of this set today will be this, I call it a filigree, or the kind of the see-through, the outline die. So let's get started with our project. You will need a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 old olive cardstock, or any cardstock of your choice, scored at 4 1/4, and we're going to fold this, and then using our bone folder, make a nice sharp crease for our card. Okay, and that just helps keep your edges really even too, for a very nice looking greeting card. Next, you'll need a piece of the ornate garden, and that's what I chose to use, but the measurement for this DSP is 2 by 5 1/4 inches. So is what we're going to do with that is we're going to take our Stampin' Seal. You guys, the Stampin' Seal is fairly new to our product line. It replaced the snail. There is a bit of a learning curve with this, and I found if you just don't press as hard, the tape runner works quite well. If you have trouble getting it started like I just did, if you just pull it forward a touch and then very lightly go over the edges of your paper, okay? The adhesive is really nice, and it is a little bit repositionable, but not a lot. So I just placed that on our olive green card base to the left side, making sure that our edge here was even. All right, so next we're going to do a little bit of stamping, and using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and the reason I'm using this is we are going to be using Stampin' Blends, which this is a permanent ink, and so it won't smear when we color with the Stampin' Blends, okay? All right, let's bring in our stamp. So, for those of you new to stamping, these are called cling stamps. They're a red rubber, they're not see-through, and they have a super sticky decal that when placed on the acrylic block, they stay in place very nicely. And as you can see, this is a pretty big stamp and it's a pretty big block. Sometimes that can be a little bit difficult if you have small hands, or if you get to be like my age and have some gripping issues. So is what I like to do is I lay the stamp down and then I apply the stamp pad to the stamp instead of the other way where you would take the block and go onto the pad. But this way I can see I have nice coverage of ink on my stamp. And then on this piece of 3.5 by 3.5 Whisper White, I am just going to go ahead and stamp my sunflower. When I stamp, and especially on a bigger stamp like this, I'll just kind of go around and add some pressure into the middle to make sure I got good contact with my cardstock. And then it never hurts to count to 3. That just gives the ink a little bit of time to absorb into the paper, and we have the perfect sunflower image. All right, so now I'm just going to set that aside and let it dry for just a bit before we bring our alcohol markers in. The Stampin' Blends that I'm going to be using today, our Stampin' Blends now only come in combo sets, which is really nice because if you're going to use them, you want to have the light and the dark shade. So I'm going to be using Daffodil Delight and the Crumb Cake Stampin' Blend combos. But while we're waiting for this to dry, let's do a couple of things. I'm going to bring in the Old Olive Classic Stamp Pad. I'm going to be using the Thanks a Bunch greeting, and again I've already mounted that to my acrylic block, and just a scrap of Whisper White. So I'm going to tap, tap, tap and kind of go around on your ink pad to get a good, a good covering on your stamp. And then straight down to the paper, 1, 2, 3, lift. There's your sentiment, okay? So then is what I did, and it's called it's a fussy cut technique. And when I first saw these, I always thought, oh gosh, that's going to take forever. It's so hard. But it really doesn't. It goes really quick. Is what I did was cut straight across the bottom. And then and you don't have to be terribly particular, but you want to move your paper instead of your snips. And snips are these little scissors that are probably one of the best tools we sell. They stay sharp forever, and they're just really, really nice. Every once in a while I have to clean mine because I'm not always good about not cutting adhesive, and then they get a little bit sticky. So then I just clean them with some of the Goof Off or that Goo Gone. So there's going to be our sentiment, okay? We'll put that aside. And one more thing with our Old Olive stamp pad. I've mounted the leaf from the stamp set here on my block, and I always, always, always love to decorate my envelopes, so it's just kind of a preview to the fun that's inside when I send it to my friends or family, or whatever the case may be. Stamping friends. They're always fun to send cards to, too. All right, so there's that. For the inside of your card, you can do one of two things. In this one, I just added a piece of the Designer Series paper to the bottom of the card. But I think in this one, I'm going to change it up just a little bit. So I have a piece of Whisper White measuring 3.6 3.75, so 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I'm just going to stamp this leaf down in the bottom corner. And you'll find a lot of times with my cards, I don't actually stamp a sentiment inside. And especially on thank yous, because I like writing on the inside to be specific about what I'm thanking them for. So now is what I'm going to do is just run a little bit of the Stamp and Seal on the top edge of my insert. I'm going to bring my card base back in, and then I just put this right on the inside. And do you see how it just kind of dresses it to give that little touch on the inside? Okay, so let's bring in our sunflower. And is how I did this is I just took the dark, and you have two tips. You have a bullet tip and you have like a paintbrush tip with these. And I just kind of roughly colored the outer edge of the sunflower. And you don't have to worry about this too much because remember we're going to use that die cut overlay. But if you don't have the dies, you don't really need it. You can just color and use it this way. The die just steps it up a little bit, adds some, and you can see how I'm coloring this, and I'm not doing that for the sake of video time. It's really how easy these blends are to work with. So you just kind of, you know, get a little bit of the light ink on the sunflower. And then I'm bringing in the darker Daffodil Delight, and again I want the paintbrush end. And as all I do is kind of go on the same markings as the stamp has, just to add some detail. So there's our sunflower. I'm just going to bring in some darker color here to the center because that's when we would look at a sunflower, that's what we would see. So you could use this just like this on your card if you don't have the dies and you only have the stamp set, or you want to just purchase the stamp set and don't have a die cutting machine. But that brings up a really, really good subject I want to talk to you about. So we have a brand new die cutting machine from Stampin' Up. It looks like this. And it, I guess I have to zoom out a little bit so you can really get it. So here's what, it flips down, so it's compact. Pretty, huh? I think so. And with the, this becomes available to order September 1st. So you might want to put it on your wish list. And if you're thinking, ooh, $120 is just a little more than I want to spend on a die cutting machine, remember you can join my team for $99 and you can add this to your starter kit. That is really good news, and I would love to have you on my team. So think about it. If you have questions or need to contact me, please do. So let me show you how this works. They have a numbering system for the sandwiches. This is plate number 1, plate number 2, cutting plate is number 3, and then I'm going to lay my piece of cardstock, and for this one I'm using the Early Espresso, and I put my die cutting side down, which means the ridges, cutting side down, and then my other cutting plate, and again that one's marked as number 3. So together we go, and cranking through. You hear how quiet it is and nice. And you guys, this thing cuts like a boss. I am not kidding. Normally we would have been running it through 2 or 3 times. We would have been shimming. That's not happening with this one. It is amazing. So let me get my little piercing tool, or my take your pick tool would work as well, just to kind of poke in the holes. And you can see all these pieces are just quickly coming right out of my die cut piece, so there's not a lot of fuss, just a couple. And I always find the piercing tool way easier to use to get those last little remnants out. So there's our, let me move this out of the way now so that you can see what we've got going here. So there's our outline piece. I think I missed one right here. There it is. All right, so let's bring back in our piece that we colored with the Stampin' Blends, and taking just a little bit of our liquid, multi-purpose liquid adhesive, I'm just going to add to the circle on the die. And then this part can this part can get a little bit tricky, but you just kind of have to focus on like a section of it, and then it does line up, it does come together. And with the multi-purpose liquid glue, you do have a little bit of time to rearrange. So there's our sunflower. Let's add just a little bit of Stampin' Seal to each of the corners. And then I'm going to be placing that on a piece of the gold foil sheet that measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And you guys, I'll post on my blog all of the measurements for this as well. So I just matted that on there. And then using some Stampin' Dimensionals, I'm going to just place these on our wheel. Here it is. I can show you this too. I hate wasting, and so when you have the outside edges from your Stampin' Dimensionals, I just go along and clip, and then I'm able to use this outside edge to pop up. And then I'm not wasting one single piece of those dimensionals. All right, so there's our flower. Let's bring our card base back in. I've got the dimensionals, I took the backing off, and I'm just going to place that right here on my card. And we'll bring back in our little sentiment that we fussy cut out earlier. And using some mini dimensionals, we're going to pop that up as well. The minis are perfect for these little skinny banners or small die cut pieces that you want to incorporate in your project, and you want to be able to add some dimension, but you just don't want to see the, there it is. You don't want to see the dimensionals. So I just put that right across the sunflower. Oh, one more. All right. So there's that. And good like that, right? But then we have these gold faceted gems, and they're just like the perfect addition to pull out the gold in the DSP and the gold foil sheet that's matting our sunflower. So there's our project for today. I hope you love it. I hope you'll give it a try, and please leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon.